Hey everybody, so today I wanted to make a video on how I travel with breast milk. I get this question a ton, so I just thought I'd make a video about it. I'm still going to have an exclusively pumping, like on the go video for you guys. It should be up relatively shortly, but I just felt like I should explain what I do as far as it concerns when I travel with my breast milk. Also, excuse any noises or yelling or screaming you hear in the background. Sophie is trying to take a nap, but obviously not really. I'm gonna be going over 3 different types of breast milk that I've traveled with, which is fresh, frozen, and freshly pumped. And the difference between fresh and pumped is what I mean is fresh was pumped before I even left, and then pumped means I pumped while I was out and I'm dealing with that. I dealt with handling fresh and pumped milk for about 10 months or so. That's when I was weaning, and around 11 months is when I was completely weaned, and that's when I started getting into more of the frozen and less of the fresh and stuff like that. So I've had about 2 months experience of frozen, and I really like how I've been doing it. So I just wanted to make this video and hopefully help some of you moms out there, because you know, I didn't have anybody to tell me what they were doing, and I just kind of went off of what ended up working best for me. I just kind of wung it, and this is what I went with, and all these things have worked really great for me. First, I'm going to go over just some bullet points that I think really help no matter what kind of milk you're dealing with, which is to try to notice how long your milk lasts for. I'm not saying purposely spoil it or anything like that, but there were times that I would forget about my milk or just things like that that showed me how long my milk was good for. And I learned that my milk honestly cannot last past 3 hours out of the refrigerator. That's just how my milk is. Everybody's milk is different. I know women who can last 10 hours with their fresh milk out on the tabletops and it's good to go and it doesn't spoil. However, for me, it's 3 hours max. So I really need to be conscious of that. It helps to know what kind of time frame you're working with. You know, since I have such a little time frame, I have to be cautious. I have to be aware of what I'm doing. However, if you had a longer period, I mean, that's less stress and less things for you to worry about. So definitely just try to take notice. You know, if you leave a bag of milk out, or you know, you do this one day, just try to see if you can notice when your milk goes bad. Like I said, I'm not condoning making milk go bad. I've never purposely spoiled milk, and I don't know anybody who would be willing to. But another great tip is to plan ahead. Yeah, I think this one kind of goes without saying, but it makes your life 1,000 times easier. Like I said, I only have 3 hours, so I have to plan. Like, I cannot just do things on the fly in my seat. It's like, I really have to be conscious of what I'm doing, how long I'm going to be out for, things like that. I really hope you can hear me over her, because it feels like I'm trying to yell over top of her. Now I'm just gonna go by each type of milk, what I did for those. I broke it down to be very, very specific, basically because I was very specific on what I wanted to do when it came to my milk and how I dealt with it. So I just decided to go through it this way. That way it's a little bit more organized for you guys. The first one I'm going to go over with you guys is fresh. Excuse me if I'm looking down, but I wrote everything down on a notepad so I could keep everything organized for you guys, and I don't want to miss anything. But the first one, like I said, is fresh milk. Now what I mean by this is that I had pumped before we left. A lot of the times it was right before, like literally last minute. It didn't take me long to empty, so pumping right before we left for somewhere was kind of ideal for me. That way I didn't really have to worry about it for 3 more hours. Sorry if I kind of switched positions. I had to go and get Sophie for a second. Anyways, like I was saying, I'm going to throw this in real quickly without getting into too much detail. For the first, I'd say about 6 to 7 months, I pumped every 3 hours. Around the clock. That's what I did. That's what worked for me. That's what kept my supply up. So I was pumping every single 3 hours. Didn't skip a beat. It wasn't until I want to say around that 6 to 7 month mark, that's when I started dropping down to like 6 and then 5, and then I think the lowest I got was 4. I went down to 4 pumps per day, and then it wasn't until around 10 months, which is when I started weaning. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that for the longest time I was dealing with pumping over 3 hours. Okay, so if we were going to be out for less than 3 hours, I would just put the milk that I had pumped before we left into a bottle for her to eat. and that's just what I would do because she would normally eat in that time frame within 3 hours. If we were out for more than 3 hours, I would just go ahead and put her milk into bottles for her to eat, and I would either use the freshly pumped milk that I had done right before we left and put that in the bottles with some ice packs around it for whenever she'd be ready to eat it, or I would use some refrigerated milk. I was an oversupplier, so sometimes I would have milk in the fridge and I would just grab that and pour it into a bottle. My refrigerated milk I can get out of like 6 hours. If we were going to be out for several hours or just the entire day, I would go ahead and put the milk into bottles for her to eat, and I would use refrigerated milk with ice packs. That way I would get like an entire day's worth. Now, we've never taken a trip with her that we were like out the entire day. If we're gone the entire day, most of the times we're at a family's home or something like that, where when I get there, I can just put my milk in their fridge. They don't mind. I don't plan for the ideal situation. I plan for the non-ideal situation, basically meaning most of the times when we were going out, it was to somebody's house or somewhere that I could put my milk in, and I really didn't have to worry about when my milk was going to go bad. But I always think, you know, your car can break down, things can happen where you're not going to get to a fridge, and I basically wanted to make sure that if she needed to eat and something bad had happened where we couldn't, you know, refrigerate the milk, that it would still be good for her to eat. Now, for frozen milk, and by frozen milk, I mean milk that I already have frozen in bags in my freezer, and I'm just going to go through and tell you basically the same situations and what I would do with them. So if we were out for less than 3 hours, I would defrost a bag until it's warm and put it into the bottle. So I would just warm it up because, like I said, she was still eating every 3 hours, so I knew she was going to eat it and it was going to be fine. And my heated up milk lasts just as long as my fresh milk, so that's why I know it's still that 3 hour mark. Now, if we were going to be out for more than 3 hours, this is a trick that I kind of did myself, and it's what really worked for me. When you're dealing with frozen milk, you want to start that timer of, you know, when you should use it within as soon as the last ice crystal melts. I mean, if there's a single ice crystal in there, don't even start your timer yet. As soon as it all melts completely, then go ahead and start your timer. So if we were going to be out for longer than 3 hours, what I would do is I would melt the bag most of the way. Now, if we were going to be out for more like 5 to 6 hours, I would leave some good chunks in there of ice. Well, milk ice, I don't know what to call them, but I would leave some good solid chunks in there. If we were going to be out for more like 4-ish hours, I would maybe leave just a little chunk in there. Basically, it just let those ice chunks sit in there. It kept it refrigerated. It kept it nice and cool. And then once they melted, you know, then I could start my timer. That was kind of like a trick that I kind of learned myself because I didn't want to risk frozen milk going bad, because once you completely thaw the milk, you cannot refreeze it. If I was going to be out for several hours, I would make a bottle like the one I just said, get a couple good ice chunks in there, and then I would just bring additional bags of milk. Now, for pumping while I was out and what I did with that milk, I'm going to go over with you guys now. If we were out for 3 hours, I would bring bottles that she ate out of, which were the Dr. Brown's bottles. I would bring those to pump in so she could eat out of them. Basically, that way she was just going to eat whatever I pumped. It's a win-win situation because then I didn't have to worry on keeping that milk good for a long period of time, and she got a bottle. If we were out for more than 3 hours, what I would do is I would bring one Dr. Brown's bottle to pump into and one storage bottle. That way she can eat when we're out and about, and then I would just bring some ice packs for the storage bottle to keep that cool. If we were going to be out for several hours or like the entire day, I'd bring a couple storage bottles with my travel bag and ice packs and keep them cool that way. So that is basically how I go about keeping my milk good no matter what I'm doing or what kind of milk I'm dealing with. I hope this video helped you out, and as always, thanks for watching.